Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I've also been a part of some of the previous events in the internet, some in the internet space with the Images Group and with the Digital Retail Summit, etc. So it's a pleasure to be here again. It's always a very energizing experience to be amidst a lot of the game changes, digital game changes, if you will, in India's ever rapidly evolving, ever dynamic market. So I think all of us always walk back from here with a lot of newfound ideas, thoughts through our discussions on stage, off stage, etc., and a lot of energy for sure. So very excited about being here today and about having this discussion with this group of eminent pioneers in their own right. So thank you for that. Let's kick the session off. I think all of us are here because of the power of digital. I used to be with Amazon for nearly a decade before I am currently now with Kearney, but we have seen, and I used to be a part of the founding team back in the day. So we have seen the industry evolve from people just asking us questions on, oh, is this going to stay? So to your point earlier, Anish, the question of, is this industry going to stay? Does it make sense? Keeps coming back, and we were just talking earlier in the morning as well, right? The industry, I think this is not, I think the question for us to ask is not about the relevance of the industry or the space of D2C or e-commerce, etc. It's so dynamic, customers are rapidly changing, and I think in India, many of us in this collective group have done an arduous task and a very, very aspirational task even of constantly reinventing business models, constantly evolving ourselves, our businesses, our products, our business models to make sure customers are ultimately benefited. So customers keep changing, but we keep changing with them, and that's the name of the game. And I think many of us today in on stage and off stage are here because of our ability to genuinely be customer obsessed and work backwards from that, irrespective of how things move, and shape the journey alongside with them. So with that in mind, I think the point is the growth of e-commerce and digital in India is real. It's been real for a while now. And it's here to stay and ever getting embellished as we speak. But maybe just as a quick reflection basis the journeys of folks here on stage, would love to kind of go around and get a sense of what in the mind of each of the CEOs, founders, and leaders on stage is the future going to hold, right? There was a certain state in which the industry was before the pandemic, and it reached a certain inflection state post, and there have been some ups and downs or changes in the curve, let me just put it that way, post that as well. So why don't we go around and get a sense of what some of us here believe. Dhiraj, maybe starting with you, on what you believe this journey has looked like from your vantage point, and what do you think the future holds for us?
Sure. This is a very interesting data point that I am very, very hopeful about, right? So if you look at any country at any point of time in the world, right, in the last, say, 50 years history, whenever the per capita of a country has gone up from 2,500 to 5,000 at any point of time, the discretionary purchases have gone up 4x, right? So if you talk to anyone or if you just kind of understand the economics of the country, you know that in India, in the next 6-7 years, we will hit that 5,000 crore mark, right? And since most of the digital spends is actually happening on discretionary purchase, so the medium term, I'm not even talking about the long term, is very, very positive. I mean, if people just end up doing what they are doing and hold on to what they are doing, they'll grow 4x, right? So that's like the basic premise, right? But obviously there has been some changes in the last 2-3 years that all of us have seen. We have seen that all the brands and all the D2C players who were agile during COVID really benefited. And obviously after every jump comes a little bit of a slowdown, which most of us are experiencing now. But I'm really hopeful that in the next 4-5 years, I think this statistics is going to hold. So from my perspective, that's what keeps me excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ashwini, what would be your take on that?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I was reading the data. I was in IF in this March also. I was seeing that report. I still remember that if you talk about the e-commerce market today is right somewhere around 54 billion, and it's going to go somewhere around in 10 years to around 400 billion, which is going to be 8x. And if you talk about in overall modern retail, it's going to be somewhere around 10 years, it's going to be 3x. So I'm hoping it's going to be go better. anyways, because India is experiencing a digital journey and the kind of Gen Z population we are having right now, and they wanted to explore more of the digital side and wanted to experience more brands and all which they can't find out. And there are also a lot of brands who cannot start go and offline every day, right? So a digital experience, so digitally they are reaching them out and giving them a new products, new niche, and everything is there. So I personally feel it's gonna boom. And already the data is showing. And I support Dhiraj, the per capita thing, which is actually makes sense.
Got it. Mahesh, what's your vantage point? What's your view on what is going to be some of the challenges that the space is going to face as we go forward? Do you also believe in the growth journey and more drivers there or more challenges as we go forward?
Hi everyone, my name is Mahesh and I represent a brand called Tailor. We are into personalized fashion for women's. We started as a digital first brand. Our approach was to acquire customer on online and through the app and the website. If you look at, and we are predominantly in the south side of the market, we have seen huge customer demand coming from a smaller town like Siddipet, Rajmundry, or if you look at Vizag, or if you look at even brand city like Kochi or Tirupati. I strongly believe that next phase of the growth in most of the D2C brand will come from a tier 2, tier 3 in a smaller town, because disposable income is increasing there and aspiration is going higher there, and that is where growth will come.
That's an interesting point you bring out on, the market is ever so large and we are at a limited penetration currently, India as a whole, and the big growth is definitely there, in the tier 2, tier 3 markets as more and more customers there get aspirational. Preeti, would you reflect that too? I think you come from a different vantage point as an e-commerce player.
Yes. So I think what we saw, of course, after the pandemic was almost adoption of digital, probably 3 years, 5 years was cut short. Otherwise, it would have taken that much longer for the industry to get to where it is today. Point number one. Point number two, it's continues to grow at a CAGR of 25%, 30%. We are all quite confident. All data points suggest that. But I think the other data point is the unorganized market to organized. If you look at the digital penetration itself is so insignificant currently, it's not even into double digits as yet. By most estimates. So over a period of time, just saying that yes, digital will grow 100%, it will grow. I don't see any challenges there. The other point that he brought up was on the Gen Z piece. It's very interesting. Indians, we all love to learn from each other. And there was a time when parents used to teach and the kids used to learn. And I think today is a time when kids teach and the parents learn. And this whole adoption of digital and these kids who are able to find these D2C brands, figure out the right quality, figure out the right space and use them is growing insanely and rapidly. And I think this whole parents then adopting to what the kids are saying is going to also be a constant phenomenon that we'll see. So I'm quite confident that this will be a good space and we're all in the right area.
That's an interesting analogy you bring about, right? It's very true. We're recently talking about how, for example, there's a lot of debate about whether quick commerce, the kind of 10-minute, 15-minute deliveries are relevant or not, right? And I'm a big fan of quick commerce myself, and I spent some time with Amazon Fresh when I was at Amazon, and I have a sense of how we evolved from 3-day deliveries to slotted deliveries to then quick commerce. But the interesting part is, irrespective of what those debates hold, irrespective of what we talk about on economics, customer behaviors do change. Right? From waiting to order an entire basket of items, especially the younger generations. I was reading an article recently. People are now used to saying, I'm not going to plan. I'm just going to wait and order that 50-gram dhania whenever I need it, whenever I want it. Just because it's available now. So sometimes our behaviors evolve based on what's available there in the market. And to your point, constantly, as markets keep reinventing, as customers keep changing, and providers keep reinventing, I think the whole virtuous cycle just leads to a constant flywheel of growth for everybody. But talking about niche segments and let's say niche customer sets, I think going back to you, Dhiraj, you operate in a very interesting space which pertains a lot to the youth of India. How do you see, I mean, what kind of interesting behaviors do you see when you look at the youth of India? How has that evolved? And how do you believe it's going to continue to evolve, change, disrupt as we go forward? Would love to hear some of those views.
So first thing, I don't think youth is a niche, right? Because we are a very young country. The market for youth maybe is 60-70% of the market, right? And if I have to look at the journey of youth through digital, I would not look at only how much they're buying or what is their e-commerce power, right? Let's just kind of go back 15 years and think how people used to buy. When I was in college, यार लोग कैसे खरीदते थे? यदि किसी को कपड़ा खरीदना है, तो either he will go, if he's loaded, he will go and buy an Arrow or a Puma Nike from a mall. If you cannot afford that, then typically you went to the national market. I mean, for people who are familiar with Bangalore, there's something called the national market where you get a lot of these imported stuff and you get your cheap stuff and all of that, right? And then you used to have these cool stores that only your friends knew. Maybe 5 or 10 in Bangalore where, people, where there was a hidden gem somewhere and people used to go and get funky clothes from there. I'm taking apparel as an example, right? And now if you look at overall the buying behavior of a young person in India, that has drastically changed. One, just the number of options that he or she has is like gone up multifold, right? That's one. Second, I think fashion overall, the world has become smaller. Earlier, there used to be an uncle who used to come from US getting, some stuff. But now you maybe get as good, if not better stuff in India. That's second. And third, a lot of those buying decisions are not only relied upon by what your friend says, is by consuming data and content online, right? So while you may or may not be buying online, your decision ki ye kharidna hai happens online, right? So digital and youth, I think from that way is synonymous. I think digital kind of influences maybe 80-90% of the sales for the youth segment. So it's very, very important from that perspective. The challenge for brand is to remain relevant, right? And we are already seeing that. Say 10 years back, as a company, we used to have this grip on the behavior of the youth because maybe we were young that time, right? And over a period of time, as companies grow, you get into a certain way of thinking. So the challenge for the company is not कि यो youth market बड़ा है या फिर वो खरीदेगा कि नहीं खरीदेगा, but how do you remain relevant to youth? And there I think every company has to figure out way and processes where you can remain relevant. So one of the things that we did, for example, I'll share that, right? We always thought that we did not get the women customer in the 18 to 25 year very well. I mean, we still got the men's category better. We could not get the women's category, the knack of their buying very well, right? So one of the things that we did, at any point of time, we have 10 interns from NIFT, NID, whatever, Gen Z, 18 to 22 year age group. And we use them as a focus study group, right? While they get different projects and they're working on different things. So just taking our marketing campaigns through them, just taking our product selection through them, just understanding how these guys buy, is very, very interesting. जब भी हम product ढूंढ रहे होते हैं या फिर कुछ कर रहे होते हैं, if my wife likes that product, we don't launch it. Because उसका सोचने का तरीका ही different है, right? उसको Mac चाहिए, उसको diesel चाहिए, उसको कुछ और चाहिए. But यदि वो 18 साल की या 20 साल की लड़की है, तो उसको जो Instagram में जो अच्छा लगा, whatever popped out, she wants that. The brand name is not important. Maybe, the packaging is important. Whether she can carry it with her mobile when she's going partying is important. Right? So understanding that and creating a product proposition which appeals to that is important. I think that's what we aim for as we grow.
Understand, very interesting. Preeti, I think, you are in a space which operates not only in apparel, but straddles multiple different categories, right? I mean, there's this beauty, there's personal care, and there's apparel. How do you see customer behaviors different in each of these spaces? And how do you believe that impacts the kind of growth or prospects for the future in each of these?
So I think, the markets are actually quite different. When you look at beauty, it's very difficult to launch a brand. And once you do, it grows quite well. And the main reason for that is obviously been availability, understanding, education, which is probably one of the key reasons why Nykaa was as successful as we are in the beauty space. However, when you look at fashion, the market size or the TAM is actually 4x that of beauty, right? But anybody, any person can get up and launch a brand tomorrow. And they can say, okay, this is my label, now go look for it. Whereas you may not, what people forget is when you actually take a step back, are you really solving for consumer challenges, is one of the key filters that I think we've been very good at. And I do believe that as the businesses are growing, it's very important to take a step back and state, are you really helping consumers in their everyday life, helping them or solving something for them, being with them rather than only discount or super building it in a more quicker and yet may not be very fully sustainable way. So from that perspective, I think Nykaa has really stood for education, and which is why I think both in fashion as well as in beauty, we are very conscious about the amount of content that we release, which is spin around education, helping women understand their bodies, understanding their understanding products which work for them, and even the brands that we are launching. For example, we have a brand Naked or Gajra Gang. Most of these brands we are actually building around solving consumer needs. For example, Naked is built around solving, simplifying lingerie for women. So the moment you state that, then whether it's tier 2 towns, tier 3 towns, tier A, whether it is a young customer and an older customer, pretty much everybody is able to resonate with the idea. And when they resonate with the idea, growth definitely will come as long as you're efficiently able to scale it.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to the point of saying that everything works backwards from how we are solving for customer problems and customer use cases and continuing to stay relevant through the different needs that customers have through the customer journey at various points of evolution. Absolutely. Ashwini, I had a question for you. I mean, I think we talk a lot, and I think we'll have a lot of conversations through today on pure blood digital native brands and that journey as well. But you've come from a situation where there was a traditional offline brand that you were talking about. How has that journey been, your journey been in taking that from where it was to now getting into a very different world, digital ads? That is, we spoke about phygital a while back, but will be great to understand your journey from that lens.
So I think my father started Dennison in 1988. I think at that time we didn't have fashion in India, technically. And he started in a tier 2 city called Gwalior. And he set up a small unit and he started a small store. And he used to open the store, clean the store, and then put the shirts. And then he used to start like this. Every day, it was almost for 4 or 5 years. And then my family members started doing it. And I was very small, and I used to go and used to make the boxes and all. I used to be happy because my father used to give me some money and all, and I was happy. So that was the journey. In my childhood, this is what I remember. But as I grew up and started seeing the business and all, and it was, I think, first year of my college, and I started visiting my store. And I started getting a bit interest, and then I was like, I wanted to do what I can do next. So I got into designing and started learning more about it. And I think it was my MBA, and I started seeing a lot of words, talks about e-commerce and how brands have been doing, and that Amazon came up, Snapdeal, I think. Then Myntra was there, and I think in Gwalior we didn't have an opportunity. And I wanted to do something because I don't want to sit on a store every day and do those chores and right. So I was like, I had to need to do some explore myself, and I think it was 2014, and somehow in Gwalior we had a drop shipping services from Snapdeal, and I think in 2014 also Diwali around Amazon started selling as a men's category. This is where I got into it because coming from a small city, you don't get opportunities. I was not sitting in any metro. Even today, I'm not sitting. And after a while, like after 2 years, we got on, become a one of the top sellers in workwear category on Amazon. Steadily, we started, got on board on Myntra and started working on it. And then become one of the premium sellers on Myntra also. That was the journey. But through this time, I started getting believed, let's try to make a business from a small city, because people are making a business from, whether it's from Delhi metros or any big cities. It's a tough challenge at the end of the day for running a business and scaling it up. But that was the vision, let's try to support and see how we can do it. So this is the journey was there, and coming from a different generation, there's always been a gap. So my father has always been scared, how are you going to do it? Are you in profits or not? I've been surviving for 10 years, I'm sure I am in the profits. So that's how the journey for me in terms of consumers. For 5 years, I didn't had any vision ki what I'm going to do it. I used to go to the market and bring products, fabrics, and I used to test them out. But then I realized that this is not working out because I was not able to grow. But in the moment I started seeing gaps and working on them, and there was a sudden change in the brand. And from 2019 to 2023, we almost had more than 80 to 90% of growth year on year. Because we started focusing on our work where then we got into functionality, sustainability, different kinds of capsule collections. So that understanding ki, like I started realizing it ki, yeah, people needs functionality apparels, like people are calling it more of intelligent apparels these days, water repellent, anti-dry and all, because people are going for working for long hours and all, going for parties, spill issues and all. So I started thinking about from that functionality because I just wanted not to be a workwear brand. Then like I started learning more about Gen Zs and all. So I started realizing my brand is more of a Gen X. So I wanted to infuse more of products to capture this market because somewhere notion of a casual wear or a workwear is going out, it's coming more of as an all-day wear. So I wanted to make a mix of product all these so that consumers have a better offering. So this is how we have been going till now. Hope to see more.
No, that's a very, very interesting and very inspiring journey on how digital has kind of enabled many of our brands to expand our reach significantly, exponentially, and kind of see a very, very different vista. Talking about, I think, a very different vista, perhaps, one more trend that we see increasingly, not just in the digital space, but with consumers across, with all of us, is the need for customization, is the need for personalization, right? We were just talking about it earlier on how traditionally working with a tailor for many of us, especially some of us women here who are, well, I guess maybe in denial, but always end up being very complex and have extreme needs, all the more for customization and personalization, and how it's always been a pain to deal with tailors, like I said. It'll be interesting to hear from you, Mahesh, on how Cloud Tailor has kind of gone about approaching this problem of customization and personalization, especially in a very complex, fragmented space like that of tailoring.
So when we 3 years back when we started Cloud Tailor from a 300 square feet workshop, and we wanted to be a digital company, so we wanted to have an app and the website, and we don't know how to design it because there was no reference point in the market. So we actually started WhatsApp group, going to a lot of societies, meeting women, getting the data point, getting their order, and delivering. But when we go to deliver, we make a list of questions to them, what they want, what they like, and everything. And then we went to the Google to understand what trends are there, what search volume is there. To our surprise, in Bangalore, there are more than 5 lakh plus queries, ladies tailor near me, blouse tailor, and tailor near me. So we thought that, okay, these are going to be the hero category for us. But when we started and when we exploring and when we started talking to a lot of customers, to our surprise, we started getting a lot of order for ready-to-wear sari, that is a 1 minute sari. So a lot of women doesn't know how to wear sari, so they buy the sari and they want to stitch and make it ready to wear. Today that contributes more than 20% of our revenue. If you look at another category which we were not sure of it, one is a pregnant women, because when women gets pregnant, there is a lot of size issues, and they usually go for the customization, and that category has helped us in terms of acquiring a lot of new customer. In another category, after post-pregnancy, when they become a mother, again they require the customizations. So this 3 category, what we envision based on the data and what actually come out in terms of the result was very, very different. But in a similar way, if you look at digital help us in terms of, again, clearing the boutique anxiety, because when you give it to the tailor, you don't know when is your outfit is going to come. When we created a digital flow and journey, we are giving all the information: who's your master, who's your fashion designer, who's your master, who's your tailor, your garment has been cut, your garment has been packed, and what time we are delivering. So we are giving that solution and clearing that boutique anxiety, and that is helping us today. I'm proud to say that we have more than 70% plus repeat purchase in our business. We do around more than 8,000 plus order a month. We are serving around more than 20 plus cities of southern part of India. Also, we do huge number of order from the US. And if you look at it historically, in people who are in US, Canada, Australia, they used to call their relatives. They do video call. They go to, the relative go to the neighborhood store. They show the saris and they used to buy it. But we have created this entire flow digitally, where we have built we have partnered with some of the brands like Kala Mandir and all of them. We got their entire catalog digitally, and we are kind of selling fabric and making the personalized fashion, making in India and selling, dispatching into US and UK.
No, that's a very, very interesting model, right? And if the kind of return customer rates you mentioned, I think that's fabulous. That's just testimony to the kind of customer satisfaction that you're seeing. So very interesting. Let me stay with you, Mahesh, for maybe one question to kind of wrap the session around, which is, we spoke a lot about what's going to drive growth, what's kind of been great about the journey we've had. But to your mind, what would be the top 2-3 things that we as an industry really need to be doing very, very differently? Call them big rocks, call them challenges, but definitely must to do things differently that you would like to highlight over the next few years?
I think in D2C part, I think people always talk about growth, but I always say that focus on the retention, because acquiring the new customer is very cost heavy, but retaining that customer is very, very important. And also I will say that today content has been playing a very, very important role. In our category, we have acquired more number of customers by creating putting a lot of reference point on Pinterest, because whenever user come to us, they always have some image from Pinterest and they said, "Hame ye design chahiye." And same time also YouTube. So we end up getting a lot of around more than 60-70% business organically, and that has helped us. So I always says that focus on the retention and try to acquire more customer organically instead of focusing on, spending too much on acquisition cost.
Absolutely. What would your view be, Preeti? What would be those 2-3 things that we as an industry, maybe especially from a perspective of an e-commerce player, what would be those things that we need to do very differently?
I think adoption of tech, not just in terms of stating that we are selling on a website and this is our spends, but really adoption of tech as an integral part of the business across supply chain, across customer service, across personalization, etc., etc. There are like every single point, the more we can adopt, I think that speed and understanding that tech is here to stay and being open to trying and saying, okay, this is not working, and agile enough to saying, let's look for the right tech solution. I think that's going to be critical as we move forward. In fact, on that note, there was a presentation last week somebody made to us. So the founder got up and stated that we have this AI solution for cataloging, and Dhiraj, you were mentioning about the time it takes to catalog, and you're saying we have this whole solution, every shoot is done, and we'll be able to upload in 24 hours. And then the founder himself said that AI can get 60% solution, like they solve 60% of problems. But if you put a person on top of the AI to really help the AI to to give the right direction, that's 100% solve. So I think that's the way you need to think of tech, and not just as tech as a separate function. So that's point one. I think point two, really delivering consistently at all points of communication on your core consumer value that you are delivering. I think, for example, if Nykaa Fashion stands for curation of brands, or the fact that you will get the latest fashion on the platform and you'll get premium fashion, etc., etc., then it's not just that you keep on listing new ones, but the importance of delisting, the importance of saying that we always have to try a certain X percentage should be just trial brands, certain percentage should be fixed brands. I think it's very important, even in brands, for you to take the same principle forward. And lastly, I think creating cohorts and ensuring that you really understand your consumer from a cohort perspective and how are you building community around it, and saying that finally all people like to connect with people, and the stronger community that you're able to build, the longer lasting your brand will be, with lesser amount of spends as well. I'll repeat that. The stronger community you build, which means people with like-minded challenges, wins that they are seeing with you, the stronger your brand recall will be, the stronger, lesser amount of marketing you'll have to spend, the lesser amount of inorganic spends will be required, and more organic business will be delivered.
That's a very powerful point, right? I think just quickly sub-synthesizing what we heard from Mahesh and from Preeti, the two things which stand out to me are, from a customer perspective, consistency, building communities, and ensuring that we focus on customer retention. I think customer retention will be an output if we focus on the consistency of the journey, the community building, and just making sure that there's value at every part of the consumer journey delivered in a consistent manner. I think that's one big takeaway already that I have. Dhiraj, your adds to that?
So there are 2 points I would like to make, right? One, I think before I started Campus Sutra, I was part of a very large organization. And as part of one of the startup team, right? So we used to do this business plan, and 10-year business plan. And uska target tha ki 60,000 crore revenue in year 10, right? I was there with them for 6 years. Every year, only the year changed. The target remained the same, right? You didn't move anywhere. I think that happens a lot with D2C brand, right? Many times we forget that D2C brands are not a network business, like a Nykaa or an Amazon or a Flipkart, right? Where you have the last man standing. So if you take fashion as a category, and you take Zara as an example, Zara in Spain has a less than 10% market share. So here, buying market share is not the way to go forward. I think in the last 4-5 years, what I have seen around me is that a lot of D2C brands try to create a brand on the back of money, right, without getting your value proposition right. And that's something that I would be really wary of, especially in the current market. That यदि तुम so basically तीन चीजें जो एक product को बेचता है, right? One is obviously your brand love. Second is price. Third is your, the product, right? Many point of time, and maybe fourth is marketing. I think what I have seen in the last 4-5 years, that a lot of funded companies, they end up spending a lot on 2 and 4. At a certain price point, everything will sell. तुम गोबर भी बेचोगे तो वो भी एक price point पे बिक जाएगा, right? Somebody will have a need. And if you keep showing the same product to a person again and again, वो भी बिक जाएगा. So building a brand without these two, or with the optimum amount of these two, is very important. The second thing that I'm really excited about is I think digital has made the world a smaller place, right? China, for example, as a country was able to become the manufacturing hub of the world, right? But they could not create too many brands except for electronics because of the language barrier, right? Also, they don't understand the culture of the West. I think India is very uniquely positioned. As our manufacturing capabilities go up and we get more into manufacturing, I think there is this clear case of a lot of brands coming out of India. So I personally see, many brands being born out of India for the West in the next 5 to 10 years. And digital will make that possible. So that's the second trend that I'm like really, really rooting for. I want to see many more brands come out of India. Many brands look at building for the West, right? Which I think is happening to an extent, but that's the second trend that I see growing up.
No, absolutely. I think the point that you're making on manufacturing, enabling more and more opportunities for sellers and hence ultimately for customers in terms of product availability in very, very niche spaces like across categories. I think that's definitely a very, very interesting trend that's picking up. Your views, Ashwini, on what will be those 2-3 things that we definitely need to get on top of as we look at disruptive growth over the next couple of years?
So I was discussing with my team day before yesterday also. One of the things which we are just feeling is we need to, we are working on more on the capsules now. Because as in Dennison, we were trying to promote, people were getting confused, what the brand is all about. We primarily were a workwear brand, right? So, but later on, we got into functionality apparels, then later on we got into sustainable, then we got into like women's wear and all. So this is how, so then we started realizing it, ki, yaar, it's getting messed up, and then it is more important to position our brand into capsules. Like for example, we started doing Dennison Earth for our sustainable collection, and then we are coming with a new collection for, like we are doing these like winter wears into, like we'll be coming up with this, like we're going to call it like Himalaya World Dennison, right? Himalayan Dennison. So that becomes more of a specific, like a brand knows कि यार Dennison का एक winter wear collection आता है, and this is for the like fashion which is related to the mountains and all, right? The cultures of the mountains, basically, not the mountains. The culture, the kind of designs are being promoted by the mountains. Similarly, we got into more of like fashion, fast fashion prints and all, and corsets and all these. So we started saying it more. So we started creating a capsule for fast fashion prints and club wear. So that another, we started doing a fusion wear by Dennison. So which is more on the sides of the block prints and the fusion embroideries ones. So these are kind of 5-6 capsules. We started building it up and started promoting them on a different versions, like different banners and all. Not putting up Dennison as in Dennison shirts, trousers, or any products. So like whenever a person is looking for particular, like for a block print or something, so he'll know that Dennison has a collection, a capsule collection for the block prints and the fusion wear. So this is how I wanted to, and it also helps in long run also, it makes your brand more stable, first thing. And the second thing, it also helps you to do a cross-selling. If someone likes your product into a fusion wear, maybe he saw your another capsule collection and he wants to buy a product into that category, right, into that capsule. So it helps to get you into a cross-selling also. That just not that into a cross-selling ki aapne shirt liya, trouser le liya, but into shirts also, there are different types of capsules, right? One is a fast fashion, one is a workwear fashion, and then we have sustainable, like a lot of things. So it depends, it helps you out in that. So in long run, I'm sure it's going to go in a much better, faster pace. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think to synthesize as we kind of wrap up the session, I think one thing that we keep in mind is we've definitely come a long way. It's been a very, very fantastic and commendable journey that all of us in this community have kind of taken up and built for consumers. But as we go forward, I'd probably pick on from what you said, Dhiraj, which is growth is one piece, but I think the most important thing as we look forward is going to be on value proposition and the value we deliver to customers, and working backwards from that also the value that we create for us as businesses, and kind of make sure that the value we create for customers or for ourselves is sustainable over the long run, especially given some of the learnings that we have seen over the last year. And I think key pillars of those are definitely going to continue to be fundamentals of customer obsession and key customer inputs that drive that across all different points of the customer journey, including post-purchase, in terms of working with customers, understanding that various life stages, for example, and working with them through that. And at the bedrock of all of this, I think most of us are in the digital space primarily because of data and the access to data, the access to customers, and the ability to meaningfully engage with customers throughout and curate, personalize, customize their experience, shopping experience, not just that instant, but beyond, throughout the entire customer lifetime value as well. So I think maybe on behalf of the panelists, if I were to synthesize, I would just say that focusing on customer value propositions and the value delivered there is probably going to be the name of the game, built around all the enablers that all of us have been working on, with definitely technology being at the core of that engine. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure being here today. Thank you.